States. They were doing very well, but they wanted to significantly increase their sales. And they came up with some ideas, but they said, before we go ahead with anything, we want to make sure there are no surprises. There are always surprises. Some are small, some are big. Small surprises are okay because it means that it's just emerging, hasn't happened. Big surprise is bad for a company. So they wanted to make sure that everything they knew about the marketplace was true. Well, we actually found that there were two big surprises in the wrestling market. Anyone want to take a guess as to what that might have been?
It's not real.
That was a surprise. It's not real. The first big surprise. The first big surprise for them is that there are more girls at the high school level who are wrestling than there are males at the college level. Let me repeat that. More high school girls than college boys are wrestling. Okay. Well, whenever there's a change, change is a synonym in business for opportunity. So whenever there's a change, there's an opportunity. So where is the opportunity? What do you think the opportunity is?
What was the question?
I said whenever, so there were girls wrestling, you know, a lot of the, not a lot, but I mean it was, there were more girls at the high school level than boys at the college level. How is it changing? Whenever there's a change, there's an opportunity. So the opportunity is there's no equipment for girls. It's all for high school and college age boys. So the girls would have to adapt to the boys' stuff. That's how Reebok got into the sneaker business. Somebody saw in the early days of running that women were wearing men's running shoes or they were wearing men's sneakers. And so there was nothing designed for women, and women have a different shaped foot, and that's how Reebok started the business. So whenever there's a change, there's an opportunity. So there was an opportunity to create a line of wrestling headgear, shoes, and some sort of a uniform for women because they were wearing what the men were. But there was a second market that we uncovered that was a surprise to them. And that was boys 7 to 10 and 10 to 14 years old. They don't have wrestling teams in elementary school and in middle school. And they can't wear the high school boys' uniforms and shoes and everything. It doesn't fit. They belong to club teams. So they would have to have their stuff made privately. So this was an opportunity for our client to either be first in the market or to wait until there was more, the numbers were bigger. The numbers weren't that big, but they had been growing every single year for 5 years. So there definitely was a pattern. And you always have to look at, why is this true? Why is this happening? What is the backstory? So while it's nice to have data, it's much better if you can understand the context, because that gives you the clues about why something is happening and how you can build on it. So why do you think that girls wrestling, or that girls are wrestling? Well, by the way, does anybody know any girls who wrestle? Okay. I guarantee you there is at least one person in this room who knows somebody, a neighbor's daughter or a relative or somebody. It's just not talked about a lot. But you'd be surprised that how many girls are wrestling. Then usually after high school they don't do it anymore, so the subject goes away. So if you're not in that circle, you don't hear about it. But you'd be surprised how many girls are wrestling. And in fact, we did that project more than 5 years ago, that there are girls are not only wrestling, but there are enough girls wrestling that some high schools have their own team. When they first start, they have to be part of the boys' team, but then they have their own teams, and they even have their own tournaments. So it's, you know, it's not just 12 girls over there in Orange County or something that are doing it. So this gave our client an opportunity to be first in the market or to wait. They chose to be first because they wanted to brand themselves as the company, or wanted people to have an event in their mind that they were the company that was making girls' wrestling equipment. But this example is true for every single business. Whenever there is any change at all, there is an opportunity. to see if there's something that you want to participate in. Now you have to figure out, does it make sense for me? Does it make sense for my business? Does it fit with my current business model? But the opportunity is there for you to grow your business by seizing the changes that are happening. And there are always changes in every single industry. Some industries, move faster than others, but they're in every single industry. So, I think my presentation is leaving me. And it was so pretty. Okay. So why does it happen? Why do companies make these mistakes? Why don't they have the information they need? And it's because decisions are primarily made based on things like experience, data, facts. Companies also use, assumptions and common sense and conventional wisdom. And all of that seems reasonable until you realize that all of those things represent the past. Experience is about the past. Data is about the past. Assumptions, conventional thinking, all about the past. Now, some of it may still be true, but some of it may not be true. But more importantly, it doesn't capture data and experience, doesn't capture what's changing and emerging. And in business, changing and emerging are synonyms for today and tomorrow. And that's the only time you're going to sell. You don't sell yesterday, you only sell today and tomorrow. So you need much more input on what's changing and emerging and less data about the past. I'm not saying not to use it. It's important. It gives you a foundation. It gives you context. It gives understanding. But it doesn't reveal what are the changes and where are the shifts. And that's where the opportunities are. Any comments? Similar situations, examples you've experienced in your business or with any of your clients?
I have a question. So, how did you find out that there were these other people who were wrestling, or like the medical thing, the EEG?
Right.
There
Well,
was
various
information?
ways. Actually, with the wrestling, that information was publicly available. It was in a sporting goods equipment trade publication. It was there for anybody to see or read, but companies don't do that because, again, they believe they know. So you have to, it wasn't like a big headline or anything, but the data was in an article that was talking about wrestling equipment. So it was there for anybody, any of their competitors to know, but they didn't. So it's always, the information is out there. Sometimes it's easier to find than others, but it's just that businesses don't have the mindset. I call this due diligence. And there's just very little due diligence done on the marketplace because either it's considered soft or it's considered not nearly as important as understanding operations in a company or the finances in a company or having, all the manufacturing equipment. So it's very low on the totem pole. John, did you?
Are you going to talk about maybe the difference in international perspective on all this? Different countries?
We don't find that there's that much difference. We do work in other countries, but it's more for when they want to enter the U.S. market. And they come in with a lot. My personal problem?
No, we don't have enough time for that.
This is not going to be a good use of my time.
We got it working in the other room, so.
So you're confident?
No, I'm not confident, but hopeful.
I
was just say, plan B is if we can go to the other room, but we think we might be.
I don't think it's detecting BGI.
Well, we'll find out in a second. There's at least one problem that we found on this machine that we just fixed. So.
Well, thank you all for so much participation in this, trying to get this.
But you're not on HDMI anyway. It's VGA.
You are right, you're in VGA now. So can you go to the PCN?
No, can't.
Doesn't work. All right, so Joe, you don't have an HDMI connector from the table?
If you want
Yeah. Which one is that? Which one's HDMI?
A little time
to,
out.
here's no issue.
Because the next thing I'm going to talk about, it's better if I can show you visually. So do any of your clients or your companies do any investigation on the marketplace, on customers or competitors or different markets to enter, or strategy or anything like that? Or it's been pretty minimal or non-existent? This is depressing.
Yeah, I feel like I'll talk. I work in new media, and so our competitors are all multi-channel networks, and so it's just people that are managing YouTube channels. There are different companies that manage different YouTube channels, and they're very competitive with each other. And I feel like a lot of the research that my company and that other companies do is just like looking at what other people are doing and being like, oh, they started like a mini network inside their network, like we have to do that.
Right.
You know, like it's not even just like, is this a good idea? It's like, oh, they're doing this, we have to do
There's
this.
two problems.
You know, so I think
And
that's
I'm gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Competitors aren't nearly as important as most businesses think they are. I mean, I'm not saying ignore them. In fact, I have a whole chapter in the book that says why fixating on competitors is misguided. So you have to know what's going on with competitors because they are part of the landscape, but not to focus on them because that's what happens, and you're assuming that they know something that you don't.
Right.
And also, you're assuming that what they know is right.
Right.
You know, or will help them, and it doesn't necessarily work that way. Are we leaving again?
Yeah, we got this working next door, so we were troubleshooting. We solved one problem that got it to work next
Well,
door.
can we go next door?
Yeah.
Is there space?
Yeah, he said we can go next door.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
This
Please
second
edit all,
half of the presentation
edit all this
will
out,
be
by
in
the
other
way, in the
room.
final.
Take your corresponding seat here.
Great, now I can sneak out and watch you.
Did you come with Mike? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was for a company that makes student work.
Are there more chairs or less seats?
Oh, we don't have window seats in here.
Well, the seats in the next room are on wheels.
Right.
So on wheels.
You know, maybe I'll just feel.
Have your jacket.
Oh. Oh, you think you're gonna get this one back?
Just want to make sure you grab
You're all
it.
set, you've got your clicker, you can fold them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring a chair and sit right here.
15. So there's 15 seats around this table. How many people do we have?
Yeah.
Do you know Steve Vanderjarn?
What office is he at?
He's the CIO.
One asking around. I've met.
Oh, he's in Colbert.
Hey!
Okay, so you
See, I really wanted to.
It's deja vu all over again.
Somebody knows him.
Did you say?
Oh, sure.
What Ramsden Island is?
I feel like I've seen people somewhere else.
You mean on the right? The young girls? Of course, yes.
I haven't even, I was a guest. And my,
So we've already talked about.
person invited me, ended up not being able to come, so I came back.
So what's happened very often, as discussed earlier, mentioned earlier, is that companies, are very confident what they know about their industry. But we don't live in a world, and haven't for a long time, in which you are successful because you beat your competitors and you're the best one in that industry. We really live in a world today where we are all impacted by so many things outside of our industry. And so we really have to think about what else is going on. Now, all of these elements may not apply to your particular business, but some of them will. Some of you have regulations in your industry, others don't. It might be suppliers or distributors, you have to know what's happening with them. Could be even other things like packaging or security. But we have to be aware of what's going on outside of our industry in addition to what's going on inside of it. So let me give you an example of how this works. We worked on a project for a client company that made frames for plastic bags. So, you know, when you go into, or when you used to, not so much in California because we don't allow plastic bags anymore, but when we could, you went into a grocery store or and you put your groceries in a plastic bag and they have the metal frame for it and they stretch the bag over the frame. This client made the frame. They were doing very, very well, and they wanted to continue to grow the business. And so they asked us to do an analysis of the industry. Well, we did the first thing, and this is what most businesses do, or most outside consultants will do. They'll look at the industry, what's happening with it, where is it growing, who are the competitors, all the specifics about it, and that's where they stop. But what I'm telling you is that you can't stop there. You have to look at what else is impacting the industry. So we looked at 5 other industries that we realized will have some effect on those frames and their sales. Any thoughts about what some of those other industries might be?
Paper bags.
Sorry.
Paper bags.
Paper bags.
Well, the supermarket industry is where
Supermarket?
they're used.
Right. So that was the first industry we looked at, was the supermarket industry, because that's where most of the frames were sold. But besides looking at what the sales were, we also looked at the costs and the shipping regarding plastic versus paper, because there were significant differences